Good morning, YouTube world. I'm your host, Paul Italia. We got a very special guest on here today. She is one of the top female arm wrestlers in the world. I'd like to welcome Sarah Backman to my channel.
Thank you, Paul. Nice to be here.
Thank you, Sarah. So, Sarah, I know that you recently suffered from an injury. I just wanted to get an update and what happened.
Yeah, so I walked around and trained with this injury for a year before I did anything about it, but I tore my subscapularis on my left arm, and which is the exact same injury I had on my right arm 3 years ago. Uh, it started out as a partial tear, and I was in pain. I couldn't pull with it, but I kept training. I did pull-ups, rope climbs, everything, and gradually it just tore a bit more, like over time. And after a year, I got an MRI, and it was completely torn off the bone. So I had the surgery 9 weeks ago now.
Okay.
So
Now,
rehab.
now you said you were training. It happened around a year ago, you think, is when it first begun?
Yeah, it's I started noticing pain in December 2021.
Now, how did that affect your training? Were you able to do everything the same amount of weights, or was it really slowing you down?
Yeah, no, I kept doing, like double stuff, like pull-ups, anything like barbell curls, things like that. I kept doing that, but I haven't pulled with my left arm for like a year and a half now. Like I haven't been training my left arm by itself like I do with my right. Like it's been gone for a year and a half, and it's crazy it's been that long, but that's the reality.
Well, the one thing I got to say is I'm same boat as you. I did both arms and all that, and when you train one at the other arm, it seems to maintain the size and strength kind of
hmm
on the left. So you're
hmm
probably not too far off and everything. So when
Yeah.
do you expect to get back in the sport with your left hand and all?
Yeah. So I met with a surgeon last week, and he said because I went so long training with the injury and it gradually tore more and more, my tendon was like ground beef. It said it was very shattered. It was hard. It's a way worse injury than on my right side. So it's gonna be a little bit longer recovery. I'm gonna be able to start training with it in July.
Okay.
So that's a long time. That's like 6 months of rehab before I can even start training with it again. I'm a little nervous because I have a match in August. But I mean, I keep training my right arm every day. I'm strong. It's just, but I wish I could prepare for longer. Doing pull-ups and rope climbs and my specialty training. So
Now, who's the match in August against?
Heidi Cordner from Canada.
Oh wow, that's another legend of the sport. That's going to be a good one. What do you what do
Yeah,
you what do you expect for that? And what is your training looking like since you're not going to be able to use your left really?
yeah. So I expect I expect um, I'm not sure. Like I don't know how her training has been really. So I really don't know. I know she's strong, very strong. But I think I am stronger than ever, and I'm planning on getting stronger until then. So I'm not going there to lose by any means. Like I'm going all in. I'm taking it very serious. So
So
we'll
how
see.
many times a week are you hitting table time, and what's your gym lifts looking like?
Yeah, so I do table time twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays, and then I train my right arm 3 to 4 days outside of that. The bicep curl, wrist curls. I have this new thing. I do at least 100 reps of curls every day, um, in one type of wrist exercise, and I've done that now for a couple months, and I have noticed extreme, like what do you call it, growth, I guess, in my strength. So that's cool. And 100 reps is not that much. It takes less than 10 minutes, and it's very easily incorporated. So
You see big gains from that with the 100 reps?
Yeah, definitely. I do it like I just pick one exercise for the day, and it has to be a wrist curl exercise, and I do at least 100 reps, and I break it up depending on how heavy I go. I break it up 10 sets of 10, or 5 sets of 20, or 4 sets of 25, depending on how sore I am. I break it up like that, and I just go.
Now you said you're hitting table time twice a week. That's a lot. How
Mhm.
does that work out? Are you going hard on both days, or is one day more of a technique day?
Yeah, I definitely try to go as hard as my recovery and like my body lets me for the day. Um, Usually, like I just need a very long warm up. If I'm extremely sore, I need a longer warm up, and then I'm ready to go. But of course, I'm not 100% every time, you know. So some days are a little bit slower than the other days, but I try to push myself every time.
And how many hours a day are you putting in the gym when you're hitting the gym?
It's not that much, to be honest with you. I'm not like, since with my injury and stuff, like I'm so limited on what I can do, but I do at least 5 exercises for my right arm. So it's usually about an hour or so.
Wow, that's a big difference because I know how you train. You're usually in
Hmm.
there hours a day and really put in
Hmm.
the hard work. I got
Yeah.
the I got to train with you that one time, and that was amazing. I was so impressed with you. I couldn't
Hmm.
believe how much work you put in, and I was ready to die by the end of it. Definitely pushed me that day. Now I want to find out about your story of how you found arm wrestling.
Yeah. So it was, I know the exact day and time and everything. It was November 19, um, 2006. And I had won an arm wrestling tournament in school, like in high school. I was 14 years old, and I won the competition, and everybody was like, "Wow, you're really good at that. Maybe you should do it, for real." And I didn't know you could do it like as a professional, whatever. But I looked up this Team Stockholm Arm Wrestling, and I went there, and it was a Sunday, like I said, November 19, 2006. I went there with my mom, and I remember seeing Malin Bergström Kleinsmith. I remember seeing her. She was the coach there, and Fia Isaac was there training too. And I remember watching them, and I was like, I was so impressed. They looked so muscular and they climbed the ropes. And at that point, I had never seen anything cooler in my entire life, like strong women just going at it. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, I want to be one of them. And after that day, I became obsessed, and it was all I thought about. I started training. Um, After 3 months, I had my first tournament. I won that. After 5 months, I won Swedish nationals as an adult. As a 15-year-old, I won the women class too. And like, I just made a wave because I was so like, I found my thing. I was obsessed. And the rest is just history. I've been, traveling the world for 17 years, and it's been taking me places like that I wouldn't have not been. I wouldn't be in the United States. I wouldn't live in Florida now had it not been for arm wrestling. So I owe my life to the sport for sure.
Now, where did you grow up? Where in Sweden is that?
I was born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. That's
Okay.
the capital.
Now it's funny that you said that you ran into Malin because it just remembered I did an interview about a year back with Malin and Fia, and they actually told this story of their perspective and all. So
Hmm.
you definitely reminded me of that one.
Hmm.
Now, did you were you an athlete in high school and growing up at all?
Oh no, I was I mean I was a gymnast. I did gymnastics for like 7, 8 years as a little girl, but nothing serious. And I was always obese or like overweight growing up. And so when I started arm wrestling, I was like, I was a big girl. I hated sports. But when I found arm wrestling, I just naturally lost the weight because of all the training. And as I lost the weight, the more I got interested in nutrition and the gym and stuff. And I did my transformation like that.
I would never have guessed you would have been overweight, just the way you look now and
Hmm.
the way you love to train. But I was in the
Right.
same boat growing up too. I was the
Hmm.
chubby kid, and
Hmm.
once I found weights, I just got obsessed with them.
Hmm.
Um, so how many years have you been pulling now? So has it been
So
like,
17. This is my 17th year.
wow, okay. And now I remember reading that you were a WWE wrestler. Can you kind of tell me about that, how that all came about?
Yeah, so in 2013, I was taking a small break from arm wrestling. I had just won my 8th world title, and that was like 6 or 7 years of just obsession of arm wrestling. And I decided, I was injured, my elbows were so sore, so I decided to take a little break. And so I bought a one-way ticket to California, and I stayed for 3 months in a hotel on Venice Beach, and I trained at Gold's Gym every day. And it was like I just wanted a change of scenery and just try something new. And one day at Gold's Gym, this guy, Chris Bell, if you're familiar with powerlifting or seen the documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster, he approached me one day at Gold's Gym, and he was like, "Hey, I think you got what it takes to be a WWE diva or superstar, whatever. Would you like to come to an audition?" Uh, and I was like, sure. And at that point, I had no idea what WWE was, because that's not big in Sweden. I had never really seen it. I had no knowing of what that was. But I was like, sure, why not? I went to an audition, and they had me do these moves in the ring and talk to the camera. And I'm telling you, my audition, like, it's so embarrassing, because I was very bad with the English language. Like, I didn't speak very well. And, I've done the arm wrestling move for 7 years at that time, but I wasn't an athlete, but they loved what they saw, because they hired me on the spot.
Wow.
So they're like, yeah, we want you. So I went home to Sweden and arranged everything with the visa, work visa, and I sold my apartment and got everything ready. And I moved to Florida in November 2013. And I did that for like 7 months, but it wasn't my thing. Every day was like, I knew in my heart that this is not my thing. This is not what I want to do. So I only lasted with WWE for about 7 months before I was like, hey, no, this is not it for me. So I quit.
That's an amazing story. And when I was living in New York and I wanted to get into the fitness, that's kind of what I did too. I moved out to Venice Beach, and I lived in a hotel over there for 6 months, and I used to train with Charles
Yep.
Glass every week.
Charles
And then,
Glass, yeah, he was at the gym every day. Yep.
yep. And then I
Uh-huh.
went from there, moved to Miami, and I became a fitness model after that.
Cool. Yeah, so we have a little similar story. That's cool.
There you go. Also want to know who your 3 favorite arm wrestlers growing up were.
Yeah, it would be Heidi Anderson. She was the whole reason I started. If you don't know who Heidi Anderson is, she's the cousin of Thea Racek. Heidi Anderson, I think, is a 12-time world champion. She has been arm wrestling her entire life. She lives up in a village in the north part of Sweden, and they're like 20 people living in this village, and everybody's related to each other, and everybody arm wrestles. And she actually made a movie. They made a movie about her, a documentary that is being shown worldwide. But it was huge in Sweden. And I remember as a 14-year-old, I watched her movie, and I was like mind blown. I wanted to be her. So she was always like my biggest inspiration growing up. And it was so cool, like a couple of years into the sport, when we actually like became, we're not close friends by any means, but it was cool. Like we traveled together, and like it was cool that my idol became my friend and my opponent, even, because we competed sometimes in the same weight class. So that's cool. I've always admired Malin and Thea too. Just the passion they have for the sport. They have, stuck with it for so long and kept the motivation up and won a lot of titles. So the Swedish girls in general, I always admire their work ethic and stuff. And then of course we have Irina Makeva from Russia. I don't know if she's 25 times world champion, barely lost any matches. Just incredible athlete. So that's like my top 3, 4, I guess.
Now, did you have any mentors or coaches? Because I know you were trained with Malin and Fia. Were they kind of coaching you during this time?
Yeah, Marlin was the coach of the Team Stockholm Arm Wrestling when I started, but unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know how to say it, but like when I started, she got married at the same time and had a baby, and she was gone for like 10 years. I mean, she saw she followed arm wrestling, during this time, but I don't have much travel experience with Marlin because when I took off, she was gone being a mom and stuff. But she definitely helped coaching me in the beginning. Fia for sure was my best training partner for years. We trained together like weekly for 6-7 years. I have a lot to thank to Fia. But yeah, that's about it. I've been kind of on my own a lot in arm wrestling. I mean, you talk a lot with other people and stuff, but I haven't really had a specific coach that has been with me during the entire time. It's always been people coming in and out depending on where I'm at in life and stuff. So,
how many world titles do you have total?
I have 8 WAF world titles. And I don't know, like so many people count different things, but I have also 6 Slotty Tour Cup world titles. And I mean, that's the biggest, or was at the time, the biggest world professional arm wrestling competition in the world. But yeah, 8 WAF world titles.
Wow. And now, would you consider yourself the #1 arm wrestler from Sweden?
I don't know. I haven't arm wrestled with the girls from Sweden in so long. I have no idea where we are in relation to each other. I know I'm probably one of the heavier ones. Usually, if you're one of the heavier in the heavyweight class, you're stronger, But it's hard to say. It's hard to know. But also, I haven't lived in Sweden for 10 years, so I don't even know if we can consider myself from Sweden anymore. Like I've been in the United States for 10 years now. So.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to see that one day. Maybe a match with you and Fia or Malin.
Yeah, right. That would be awesome.
I know it's not proper to ask a lady their weight and all, but I know you're an athlete and all. So
yeah,
what weight class? What weight are you, and what do you normally compete at?
I'm 180 pounds, so I usually cut down to 176, 80 kilo.
Okay.
That's where I've been now for years, and my body seemed to like this weight, and I like how I look. I like how I feel. I like the way to feel strong at this weight too. So this is where I feel comfortable.